Welcome everybody, this is Brian Whitmarsh and I am providing a new lesson learned, and this one's going to be a little bit longer. I learned a lot of things in this, and as you can tell, the title is, VFR Pilot flies into IMC. This is going to happen. I've been preparing for it. First of all, I want to publicly thank all of those folks, those content creators that share their humbling experience. Sometimes when you have a humbling experience, you're resistant to share it because you're like, man, I'm going to sound like an idiot and people are going to say bad things. But no, you who have shared your humbling experiences, all content creators, I appreciate everything that you do. You're not getting rich off of YouTube videos. Sometimes it's an audience of one, sometimes it's an audience of a few thousand. We're pilots. We can't support our flying through YouTube profits, right? In most cases, there is none. So yeah, I just appreciate all those content creators. And I have a humbling experience to share where lesson learned was, it was a great lesson learned. And, as I grow older, as I have and gain a little bit more wisdom, I learn more and more the importance of humility, right? In my daily readings, just as a pilot, humility is a key virtue. The younger version of me probably was, no, I was less humble. Anyways, humility is huge and it's important in life as well as a pilot. So let me explain the circumstance. I am flying up to Pullman, Idaho, from Uniform 03, my home base, which is Buell, Idaho. And I'm going to pick up my daughter. She is at the University of Idaho, and instead of having her drive all the way down on snowy, icy roads, an excuse for dad to fly and somebody to fly with him. So I agreed to, I'll go pick her up. I'm watching the weather. I find the day that is the best weather. I do all my planning. I plan my route so it's over major highways, major freeways. So if I have any troubles, if I run into icing conditions, those types of things, I can be as safe as possible. And the morning I wake up, everything's green. My whole route, green for flight, right? Every airport is showing that they're VFR. And I do see a little bit of weather in Boise because I'm going to go the interstate to Boise and I'm going to head north from there. So I see a little bit of weather, but it's just a little patch. And I see a little bit of green, which means the radar is showing that there's a little bit of precip, but it's a small amount of precip. So I take off out of Uniform 03 in the morning. Great air, good VFR day. And today I'm in a 1971 Bonanza V-tail C35. I don't know, 70 or plus old aircraft. Anyways, it has a standard six pack. And so I always have ForeFlight hanging on the windshield, not on the windshield, but hanging on the side window. And so I can, have that as well and supplement the six pack that I have there. Take off fine. I get flight following. I love flight following. I love someone knowing where I'm at so they can help out. And as I get close to Boise, the ceiling starts to drop. And I knew, okay, ceiling's going to drop. There's precip in the area. So I start to come down so that I stay VFR. And elevation in Boise is like 2,600. And so I have dropped down to about 5,500. And as I drop down, flight following says, hey, sorry, we can't, you're below radar. There's mountains around. We're going to have to drop you from flight following. So, okay. I first asked if I could climb. And at first I'm like, I'm going to climb. No, I'm not going to climb into the clouds. So I let them know that, hey, I'm trying to maintain VFR. So I'm going to stay low. And so, squawk VFR. So I changed to 1200 and continue to follow my route. And as I follow my route, the weather continues declining. And I have a few thoughts of I should probably turn around or land or wait this out. But I drop down a little bit more. I go through a couple little flurries of snow. Nothing sticking. I'm worried about icing. I'm looking at the wings. They're fine. So as I approach Emmett, it is even declining more. And so at this point, I'm like, nope. Not going to do this, not going to go, because at that point I'm going into rising terrain to head north. And so I'm not going to do that in these types of conditions. And so ForeFlight, I quickly look, I find the Emmett Airport information. I do a 180 to turn around. And as I turn around, I'm socked in. So that weather had snuck behind me. Can't find the airport. I dipped down a little bit lower. I think I'm at 4,000 feet at this point. I know there's stuff around me that's higher, you know, within a few miles. I can't find the airport. I'm not familiar with that airport. And at that point, you know, problem solving goes in. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be on, you know, Juan Brown's YouTube video. No. And so at that point, I make the decision to stay over my area, which I know is about 2,500, 3,000 feet elevation. And I'm going to pick a point on the ground and I'm going to do my point around a turn. And as I do this, my reference is I see this bright thing in the sky. So you see here's, you know, from afar, this track, this 4-5 track looks normal. But as you zoom in, you see what I did. And so I can see the ground mostly. I'm socked in all around. Altitude, get altitude in my mind so that, you know, I'm flying. And also the things going through my head from all the YouTube videos and people sharing, and also things that you've learned in school, is that transition, now that you can't see out the front window, transition to your instruments and trust your instruments. And it's amazing. You know, you do this thing under the hood and, you know, you're expecting it and all of this, but in a higher stress environment, you know, switching to instruments, your mind plays tricks on you. It will play tricks on you. And so I start a left circle, and you know, that's the pilot side. I can look down. I have the sun, keep the sun above me, keep the ground below me, and get away from the ground. And so I start my circling, climbing turn. Staring at my instruments, I start my turn. I can feel it. Everything looks good. I have a standard rate of turn. And I'm climbing. So I see my speed decline. I don't want to decline it too much, so I stay about 100 miles per hour. And I start to circle and climb. And the first circle was great. The second circle, I felt like, well, I'm not turning anymore. So I turn more, then I look at my instruments, and I can see my standard rate of turn is sharper. So, yep, nope, Brian, your body is telling you that it's not turning, but you are turning. So I back off on the turn, stay, you know, trust my instruments. I'm just scanning the instruments, right? I can't see anything outside anymore, except for every once in a while make sure that bright, shiny thing in the sky is still above me. And so I'm just spinning, gaining altitude, looking at all my instruments, adjusting for my standard rate of turn, because your body will, you know, you'll make different adjustments that you don't know about. And then as I'm climbing, you know, once all of a sudden I feel it getting faster, I look at my airspeed's increasing, artificial horizon is going down. So nope, for someone was pushing me, I was going down. For someone, body was telling me I needed to go down, whatever. Trust your instruments and then continue my standard rate of climb. In the middle of this, it starts to get cooler outside, right? And so the suction cup on the window has my ForeFlight that I'm trusting, right? And it falls to the ground. And I'm like, for a second, I'm like, I gotta get that. No, because I know every time I bend down to do anything in the airplane, instantly the plane comes with me. And so I just left it on the ground. I knew I was climbing. I was going to get to a safe altitude of 11,500 feet and then get stable. So these turns, circling, I get up to 11,500 feet where I feel comfortable that I'm, you know, at least a couple thousand feet above the terrain that's around me. I straighten the airplane out. I get everything level. I get my speed consistent. And then I pick up the ForeFlight that's laying on the ground. And I put it on the dashboard because I couldn't get it suction cupped anymore. So I plop it on the dash. It's not really doing me any good looking out the window anyways. And I start scanning for airports. You know, where is the green dot? Well, the green dot behind me had turned low IFR in a matter of, it felt like an hour, but it was a few minutes. And there happened to be on my route north in Grangeville, there had been, there's a green dot, it shows clear below 12,000 feet. And so I'm like, okay, and then beyond that is still green. So I'm like, the conditions are improving that way. And so I put it on a compass heading and I fly as straight as I can, as level as I can, and just head towards that green dot. And I'm still above the roads, not that you can't see anything below anyway, so I'm just flying through it. And it felt like an eternity, felt like an hour, but it was probably 15 minutes. I poked through and visibility clears up, I'm back to full VFR, and very thankful for that. But that is basically what took place. And, I learned a ton of lessons that day. When they talk about, and you hear, number one, aviate, fly that aircraft. Don't get distracted by trying to navigate or communicate. I wished I could have been able to talk to somebody, but I couldn't get anybody. I was already off of flight following. Number one, primary, just fly the stupid airplane and get it out of harm's way. So I got it out of harm's way. And then I was able to assess the situation and then fly out of those conditions. Be prepared for it. It's gonna happen. Thankful that everything went well and it was a good learning experience and not a learning experience that someone else is learning about listening to Scott on Flywire or Juan Brown on Bronco Larry. So again, thank you all you content creators for sharing your humbling experience. And, let's just continue to advance aviation and continue to find ways to make pilots safer. Thank you.